I'm like, co-main event kicked my ass. So the gate was $2 million. The fight of the night, Holloway Poirier, Gastelum Adesanya. So 2 fights of the night. Congratulations, they all won 50 grand, as they should have. Ridiculous. That's it. That's all I got.
Crowned 2 new interim champions tonight in pretty incredible fights.
That was for all the idiots that don't like interim champions. The championships, there you go.
They were definitely worth it tonight. Can you give us your thoughts both on Poirier and Adesanya? I mean, what you thought of each of their performances and just kind of what you thought of them as your new champions?
Gastelum Adesanya is one of the greatest fights I've ever seen in my life. And the main event, Max Holloway is so tough and such a dog. Looked like he was out in the first round. He comes back. It ends up being a 5-round fight, back and forth. Amazing, incredible fight. I always wanted to see how he would do at 155. And what's crazy, what I didn't expect, is he looked small at 155. So I look forward to him going back to 145.
I was going to ask what you thought, because he did look. I mean, he looked healthy and he certainly competed well at 155. But do you think? I mean, have you talked to him, and do you think him going back to 145 and defeating his title?
We took him straight from the octagon to the hospital. That's why he's not doing it. I told my guys, I don't want him doing any interviews or anything. Take him straight to the hospital. He's tough. He's awesome, but I'd like to see him at 145 pounds again.
Interesting.
Yeah. Poirier looked much bigger than him.
He did.
In my opinion.
What do you think for Poirier? Habib said that he'd like to see him in September for a title unifier. I mean, this is an interesting division, especially with Conor, that you can always throw wild cards in there. But is the unifier next? Does that make sense?
Yes, that's the fight. Poirier will fight Habib next, probably in September.
Probably in September, okay. In Israel, obviously, he'll have the unifier with Whitaker, I imagine, next.
Yeah.
Too early to say whether or not that could happen in Australia. I mean, I know that's tough.
We were going to do that fight here. I wanted that fight in the United States. We're definitely not doing that fight in the United States. That fight's going to Australia. Yeah. It will be massive in Australia.
Be huge. Any idea when it'll take place?
No, we gotta figure all that stuff out. I just put my guys on that tonight. That's their homework for this weekend. Get us an arena and stadium, not an arena, a stadium in Australia.
And one more question on Israel. I mean, now you have 2 African champions. I mean, I know that's been a market that's been kind of discussed, but I mean, now with 2 African-born champions, like, is that a more realistic possibility of a future UFC event there?
Everywhere is a possibility and realistic for us to go. I was telling everybody yesterday, in 2 months, in the next 2 months, I'm going to show you guys the future. And not of UFC, the future of fighting. We're working on some stuff right now in Vegas that's just going to blow everybody away. And we have all these plans this summer to create more talent, bring in new people. We're literally, this summer the PI opens in China. We're already working on the places in Mexico that I told you about a couple months ago, Puerto Rico. I'm telling you guys, wait till you see what we do in the next 3 years.
So PIs are already under construction in Mexico and Puerto Rico?
No, PIs, we're looking for the land right now in Mexico. We're looking for the property.
Cool. And lastly for me, I just want to ask about, this was the debut of the new pay-per-view platform. I did see some kind of headaches and people were having some difficulties. Can you give us an idea of what was good, what was bad, initial results, that sort of thing?
So we were in pay-per-view negotiations months ago. I don't know, time's flying so fast I can't keep it straight. But not too long ago, we were in pay-per-view negotiations, and we didn't like the way they were going. So what you don't ever want to do is give us a little time to think outside the box. So we started talking to ESPN. The talks moved really fast, and we struck a deal with ESPN. And we knew we had to pull this fight off very soon, on both sides. And we knew that there were going to be some hiccups. Hopefully there aren't. Hopefully you can get everything dialed in. The next one will be much better. The next one you'll be able to purchase right through the app. It's going to get easier. It's going to get better. And I'm not just saying this because I'm in business with these guys. You've seen me in business with guys that I don't exactly love being in business with. It happens sometimes. These guys are so good at what they do. They're so good. They're so on top of everything. We will get the problems that people had tonight fixed, and it will only get better. Yeah, buddy. Yeah. Somebody bring him the mic.
Here you go.
There you go.
Thank you.
Just wanted to talk about a situation with Max Griffin, the whole thing with his opponent. This week when Max was in here, we were talking to him.
Yeah.
And he said it was just ridiculous, man, that he had to look over his shoulder for this guy. He's attacking him at breakfast, going overboard, over, I guess he said something, they're going back and forth, normally like fighters do. But what can you do that maybe this doesn't happen again? Because they said that you complimented his camp, Griffin's camp, for being professional about this. I mean, there's been a lot of things that have gone on at press conferences and all that, but what can you do to get these fighters to not act like, pieces of crap when it comes to other fighters worrying about their safety and all that?
Yeah, listen, they don't. Our guys are on top of that stuff. That's why there wasn't a fight 3 times last week whenever there were confrontations with these guys. But it happens. You get these guys that are super emotional leading up to a fight. Somebody says something, you disrespect that. You're seeing a lot more of it than you used to, but it's not no different than it used to be. Back in the old days, George St. Pierre said that he got threatened by the Diaz brothers in an elevator one time. And I mean, I could go on for days. It's just, we didn't have as many fights, so it just didn't happen as often as it does now. We were so close in that Khabib. We knew that there were tempers flaring on both sides. Everybody was getting crazy. And if you watch the tape, which you probably have a million times like me, the Nevada State Athletic Commission guy almost had Khabib's legs before he jumped over that octagon. And even after he did, we had it contained very quickly. Nobody got hurt on either side or fans. These things are going to happen. And now that they're happening more often, we're more on top of it than we ever were. The bus attack. The bus attack came at the absolute right time when everybody was almost gone. The last bus was pulling out of out of Brooklyn. Right. And obviously it's a place where you have to drive into an elevator and the elevator takes you to the top. It couldn't have been a worse situation than it was. But again, our team did a pretty damn good job of stopping that from being worse than it could have been. So we are aware of all these things. We know it. When I came in that day, security told me what was going on with those guys and told me to be careful because I ain't as fucking young as I used to be. And when these guys start fighting, man, they give me the heads up. I need to know. So we're doing the best we can. But nobody's ever going to be in a situation where they're coming to one of these events and their safety it will never get that bad. We will never let that happen.
Did you talk to Conor Khabib about the online stuff?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
I mean, is there anything you can do?
Well, it stopped.
Right.
Thank you to both of them. It stopped. Yeah. Yeah. That got goofy too. It's not. It's uncalled for. These guys are all grown men, and remember, these guys are independent contractors. It's hard to tell grown men. I got one in Russia and one in Ireland, trying to keep them under control on social media. Mean things are going to be said, and at least we got to a point where it stopped.
Dana, with Masvidal, Pettis, Gaethje, and then now tonight, are we in the midst of the greatest stretch of main event results here you've had?
Yeah, we were just talking about it when we went back in my room after the fight. It's like before we left Fox, we've been on this roll right now, of incredible fights. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously a lot of that had to do with the durability of Holloway and Gastelum in there. Can you just speak to that a little bit? I mean, they definitely had opportunities where they could have taken some outs, and they did not. I'm
going to tell you because I'm going to take another swing at the idiots that don't like interim belts, okay? There's probably some of you in this room too. But here's the reality. When more is on the line, right? It's one thing to come in here. Can you imagine if Israel Adesanya versus Kelvin Gastelum was a 3-round co-main event, right? And even the Poirier fight, the main event, if it wasn't a 5-round fight, and these titles mean something to them. These titles mean something to them. So when you go in there and there's a belt on the line, and you know what's next, because now Israel, and I'm sure many of you saw it tonight. Israel's flashy. Israel's a good-looking kid. Israel speaks really well. Israel became a star tonight, okay? Israel Adesanya became a star tonight. People are going to be talking about that fight for a month. You know what I mean? From you guys to the fans to whatever. Now the anticipation for a fight. That's why I said, forget the United States, man. We're going to Australia with this fight. You know, you have where he's from, right there. You have where Whitaker's from. It will be massive. So we just got to figure it out. What the hell was your question? Did you ask me?
It was just to speak to the durability of.
Yeah,
Gastelum.
it's about what's on the line. That's what it's about. It's about what's on the line. You know how bad Israel wanted to win that fight? You know how bad Gastelum wanted to win that fight? Watch it. Watch the fight. That's how bad they both wanted it. You know, there's real stakes. There's something, you know, on the line. Now, if you're Israel Adesanya, right, you were lined up to possible. He had to wait for Gastelum before, and we had to wait for Whitaker to come back. Now Israel Adesanya comes out, and he's got a belt. He already beat Gastelum. He doesn't have to wait for Gastelum, and he gets pay-per-view. How does this not make sense to anybody? Israel Adesanya was on vacation. He left vacation to come take this fight because he understands what is at stake here and what he can get. And the same thing for Max. Max, you heard him saying all week, he wanted to be a double champ. He wants the legacy. He wants people to know his name, you know, when he's long gone. And he wants 2 belts, and there's more money involved in that too. So.
And, you know, talking about Izzy, it's been 6 fights, 14 months, and here he is with a belt.
Right.
I mean, can you recall many people who have had this resurgence? You call him a star now.
No, you know who he reminds me of? The Conor McGregor. That's what Conor did. Conor came in, he stayed active, he built up a lot of notoriety, had some great fights, and people knew his name, and people wanted to see him fight. Israel Adesanya is on that same trajectory right now. He's doing the same exact thing Conor did. And you know what Israel doesn't say when we call him? He doesn't say no. I'm on vacation. I'm not going to show up and fight for a belt and then possibly get a shot at the champion and make pay-per-view money. He says, yeah, I'll see you in Atlanta. You know, and when you have that type of confidence in yourself, it pays off. And, you know, it's definitely going to pay off for him.
And on the opposite side of the coin, Dustin Poirier has had to take the long road. His 22nd UFC fight, the only person who's had more before getting a belt was Bisping. I think
Right.
He was 26. I mean, what have you made of his journey, his ups and downs, and then finally he gets to this point?
Yeah, some guys have the Israel Adesanya path and the Conor McGregor path, and some have the Poirier path. You know, if you look, I don't remember what the numbers were, but Chuck Liddell had to go through that same thing, and then Tito wouldn't fight him. And there's been a lot of guys who have, Tony Ferguson had a lot of, look at the bad luck that guy's had. You know what I mean? And the list goes on and on. Some people it works out for, and some people have longer roads. Poirier has, you know, stayed the path and trained hard and done what he's had to do to get here. And tonight was his night. And he fought an incredible fighter, and he won.
How did you score the main event? Because Khabib was online. He said he had a draw. Did you think it was pretty clear for Dustin?
Yeah, I think Dustin won the fight. I'm going to tell you that the Israel Adesanya Kelvin Gastelum fight kicked my ass. I was like exhausted after that fight, and I started trying to watch the next fight, and I didn't really score it, you know. But I had Dustin winning the fight.
Just last thing, since you mentioned Tony Ferguson there, he was saying that he's been cleared, he's ready to go. He called out Dustin tonight. Justin Gaethje was in here saying he'd like to fight Tony. Do you have any plans for Tony? Is he ready to fight? Are you ready to book him?
I don't know if Tony's ready to fight. I don't know if that's absolutely accurate because we haven't had anybody evaluate him yet. But this was his fight. This was supposed to be him and Max tonight. This was his fight. He turned it down, you know. And we've made it very clear that the winner of this fight, just like Israel and Kelvin, would fight for the title. So that's the deal. Unless something happens to Dustin Poirier, he gets hurt or gets injured or something happens, he's got the fight. We didn't announce that, did we? Then I don't know. We'll see.
Just a few from me here, Dana.
Hey, buddy.
First, obviously the main and co-main event are going to be the story coming out of this. The rest of the card was pretty good, though. A lot of good performances. Kind of any performances that really stuck out to you that you're going to take away from this event with you?
Yeah, I thought Nikita Krylov looked good. Khalil looked good tonight. Went going 3 hard rounds with a really tough, durable guy. What else did I like? That Max Griffin fight was a good fight, too. That fight was really good. Yeah, there were a lot of good fights tonight.
kind of shifting gears here. I know you've spoken about TJ Dillashaw's suspension before. Yesterday he released a statement. I'm just wondering if you had a chance to see that and if you have any reaction to it.
I haven't seen his statement. I know that he did release a statement, but I didn't see it.
And final one, we've been asking all the fighters. Game of Thrones comes back tomorrow. Are you a fan of the show? And if so, who do you think's going to win at the end?
I've never seen it. Yeah, I've never seen it.
You're not alone. There are a lot of fighters who have said that too.
Oh, really? All right. I thought I was going to be like the only guy that never seen it. My kids are into it. They watch it. I really don't watch a lot of TV, to be honest with you. I don't have time.
Yeah, I don't know what more could be said about Gastelum and Adesanya. Incredible fight, but
Right.
It looked like fourth round. That fight might get stopped at one point. Also in the fifth round, did you think it might get stopped at one point? Did you think it was?
Yeah, I mean,
should be stopped?
during the fight, they were both hurt during that fight, and both guys came back and fought through it. And, you know, I was interested in seeing Israel tonight against a guy who hits as hard as Kelvin. And I honestly thought wrestling was going to play a bigger factor in that fight than it did. You know, Kelvin came out banging with him right from the, and Kelvin looked great in that first round. He had Israel off balance and, was like beating him to the punch. Then Israel came out, adjusted in the second round, and it was on. I mean, from that second round, that fight was back and forth, and I thought that Kelvin would wrestle a lot more, at least attempt to wrestle or shoot, and try to make Israel at least gun shy and changing his levels and everything. But he just came out and banged with him, and I was impressed that when he did try to shoot, how Israel, he took Israel down that one time. Israel got him in a triangle. He had his neck at one point, and it was great, man. I mean, it's seriously one of the greatest fights I've ever seen.
Yeah, he got, I think, 2 takedowns. The first one, Adesanya stood right up. I saw Henry Cejudo jumping up because I'm sure he saw the takedown and was thinking, okay, my boy's got the takedown, and Adesanya got right back up.
Right.
I saw John Jones had called out Adesanya. And your thoughts, I mean, is that something you'd love to put together, knowing that you're calling Adesanya a star and John Jones
listen,
who he is?
he's got Whitaker to look forward to now. Whitaker is a bad dude. He's bigger than Kelvin. He hits harder than Kelvin. And, he needs to focus on him right now. I know him and John Jones have been talking some smack. And listen, if he wins and he becomes the middleweight champion, obviously I'd love to see him and John Jones fight. But, we'll see how everything plays out and timing. Because probably the other thing is if Israel Adesanya fights Whitaker and wins, there's other guys that have been waiting in line too to fight for the title. So if Jacare keeps winning and doesn't get a title fight, that guy might kill me. So we'll see what happens next before we start talking about John Jones. But that John Jones fight is going to be out there for Israel no matter what. That ain't going anywhere.
And to go off the path a little, any word on Cormier and Lesnar? Yeah,
the Cormier-Lesnar rumors weren't true that I had something done. That was never true. I've been talking about that's the fight that Cormier wants. And I saw a lot of people, giving Cormier shit on the internet because he wants that fight. First of all, Brock Lesnar wants to come back. I don't know when we'll get it done. Daniel Cormier has done everything we have ever asked him. He's fought anybody we've ever wanted. He's been a great champion. He's an incredible ambassador to the sport. If he wants the Brock Lesnar fight, why shouldn't he get the Brock Lesnar fight? He's talking about retiring, and he wants to fight Lesnar. He's still got 2 nasty fights before he retires. He's got John Jones, and he's got Stipe Miocic. If the guy wants to fight Brock Lesnar, he's going to fight Brock Lesnar if I can get it done and if I can make it happen. So I don't know when, but like I said, Brock lets me know when he's ready. We good? Thanks a lot, Atlanta. I appreciate it. You guys have a good night.